YouTube, welcome back. Today we will configure VPC access to Lambda function. So the first thing that in the search we type Lambda, we go there. We will find the function that we created previously in the video. If you didn't know that function, you can just check the video. It's just pretty simple. You go to create a function, you put your name, and you just hit create it. It's not something too big. You go to the function, and after that you find yourself that we have no VPC. The way that we like add a VPC connection is that when you go to create a function, you have the basic information. Okay, you could like expand advanced settings, and after that you will find that enable VPC. And VPC right now we can use the default, and we allow, and we can just use any subnet we want, and we can use any security group we want. We recommend use at least 2 subnets. Okay, so and you just create the function, and that's it, like my VPC Lambda. So it's basically you create a function, you go to the advanced settings, you enable the VPC, and after that you should allow, it's optional to allow the IP address version 6, but it's to go to allow. You will choose your subnets, and you create a function, and that's it. And to configure the VPC, for example, this is one when we create a function with when we do with existing, when we try to create a new function. Dual task cannot be supported, at least of the subnets. Okay, we could do it a day, but however, this is the way that we do it with the function. But if we want to do it with existing function, so we go to the function, we choose a function, we go to the configuration, and from the configuration we will find the VPC, and you edit the VPC and just do everything as always. Allow IP address, or you cannot allow as much as you want. And you have here, and you choose a security group, and you just save, and that's it. The provided execution role does not have permissions. This is a great. It says that the provided doesn't have permissions, because you should give permissions, because you should give execution rule and user permission. Like Lambda uses your functions permission to create and manage network interfaces. And to connect a VPC, your function execution rule must have some specific permissions. For example, let's see what are these permissions. And I want something to write in. Yeah, I could write in the code. So what are these permissions? Can I play with the code here? Yeah. To give some examples. So the permissions are as following. First, you should have this, the EC2, create network interface. You should have the EC2, describe network interface, and this one should be allowed for all resources. And we have the EC2 delete network interface. We should add these permissions to our Lambda function, which we'll do in another video. And we should add the assign private address. We should add these 4 permissions to allow our Lambda functions to use the VPC, because right now we cannot, because we don't have the right permissions. These permissions are included in the AWS managed policy. We have AWS. You can have all of these permissions from the AWS Lambda VPC access execution rule. Note that these permissions are required only to create ENIs, not to invoke your VPC function. In other words, you're still able to invoke your VPC function successfully, even if you remove these permissions from your execution rule. To completely dissociate your Lambda function from the VPC update the functions VPC configuration settings using the console for the update functions API. So that's it for this video. This is the way that you create a VPC, but note that you should allow these user permissions before updating your Lambda function, otherwise you'll not be able to do it. We will make a dedicated videos about how to add permissions to a Lambda function. You can see in for example, you can see you can do it in the template here, and or also you could do it in you can add a new permissions in from the configurations. We will talk about that. You can add like you can add the edit, and you can add description. You can add a new permissions for your function. You can create a rule for that. So that's it for this video. I hope you like my content. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and see you guys in future problems.